I never imagined the day would come when my own parents' silence would hurt me more than any words ever could. That night, in our living room, I realized that silence can cut deeper than a knife, because it doesn't just wound you, it leaves you utterly alone. We were all there together. My girlfriend, my mother, my father, and me. I thought it would be a conversation, maybe even a difficult one, but one where my parents would stand by me. Instead, it turned into something I couldn't have predicted. She stood in the middle of the room, her arms crossed, her eyes sharp, while my parents sat quietly on the sofa. I sat across from them, watching, waiting. I thought I had support, but I was wrong. She started speaking, her voice full of contempt. At first, she made subtle remarks about my ambition, or rather, the lack of it. She said I never followed through on my goals, that I was more of a dreamer than a doer. I felt my stomach twist, but I didn't react. I thought my parents would stop her. I thought they'd tell her she was being unfair. Instead, they stayed silent, as if they were just spectators in some cruel play. Her words grew harsher. She mocked me openly, calling me weak, lazy, and even pathetic. She brought up private things I had shared with her in confidence, twisting them into weapons. Each word stung, but the silence beside me stung worse. Every time she attacked me, I looked at my father, hoping he'd say something. His eyes stayed fixed on the floor. I glanced at my mother, but her lips remained sealed, her face pale but unreadable. The silence told me everything. It told me I wasn't worth defending. It told me their fear of confrontation was stronger than their love for me. And in that moment, her insults became less painful than their silence. I could feel my chest burning as she went on. She accused me of being a disappointment, of wasting my life, of never being good enough. She seemed to enjoy the way nobody interrupted her, like she had complete permission to tear me apart. At one point, I actually wondered if they agreed with her. That thought was like acid in my mind. It wasn't just her words hurting me. It was the possibility that their silence was a form of agreement. Finally, I had to speak. My voice shook, but I stood up and told her, "That's enough." She smirked, tilting her head, as though she'd already won. "See," she sneered. "You can't even defend yourself properly." That was the last straw. I pointed to the door, my voice low but firm. "Leave," I said. For a moment, the room was still, then she picked up her bag with a smirk and walked out. The door closed behind her with a heavy slam. But even after she left, the silence didn't go with her. It hung in the room, heavier now, almost unbearable. I turned back to my parents, my voice breaking. "Why didn't you say anything?" They looked startled, as though I'd asked something unreasonable. My father finally muttered, "We didn't want to make it worse." My mother whispered, "We thought it was better not to interfere." Their excuses crushed me. I realized they thought staying quiet was safer than standing up for me. In trying not to make things worse, they made it unbearable. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, not her words, but the way my parents had just sat there, letting me be humiliated. That silence echoed louder than anything else. Over the next few days, I tried to move past it, but I couldn't. Every time I thought about my parents, I didn't feel comfort anymore. I felt a hollow ache, the memory of their silence replacing years of trust. Her betrayal hurt me, yes, but my parents' silence broke something deeper inside me. I expected her cruelty. I never expected their indifference. It felt like standing on a battlefield, being attacked, and watching the people I counted on most drop their weapons and walk away. I wasn't just hurt. I was abandoned. I started pulling back from them. I stopped sharing details about my life. I stopped expecting them to defend me. The bond one thought was unshakable suddenly felt fragile, cracked in too many places to fix. But something shifted inside me too. If I couldn't rely on their voices, I had to rely on mine. If I couldn't count on them to defend me, I had to learn to defend myself. I began focusing on my own life, setting goals, small at first, and sticking to them. I worked harder at my job, began exercising, and found strength in routines that made me feel in control. Slowly, I grew stronger. The shame I felt that night began to fade, replaced by determination. Their silence had crushed me, but it also forced me to build a louder, stronger voice of my own. Months passed, and I still hadn't fully healed. The scar was there, but so was the lesson. Sometimes the worst pain doesn't come from what's said to you, it comes from what isn't said at all. I came to understand that silence is its own kind of betrayal. It's the absence of defense when you need it most, the empty space where love should have been. Now, when I think back to that night, I don't hear her words anymore. They've faded into the background. What remains is the silence of my parents, a silence that spoke volumes. That silence taught me a harsh truth. Not everyone you expect to fight for you will actually raise their voice. And sometimes, the people you love most can hurt you without saying a single word. But it also gave me strength. It pushed me to be my own defender, to stand tall even when nobody stands with me. It made me promise myself that I would never stay silent when someone I love needs me. Her words may have cut, but my parents' silence left the deepest wound. And yet, it also lit a fire inside me that nothing else could. Now, I carry that fire. It reminds me of the pain I felt, but also of the strength I gained. Their silence crushed me, yes, but it also created a stronger version of me who refuses to ever be crushed again.